The Federal Reserve is creating a global spoiled brat syndrome of easy money. Banks are addicted to the IV drip of QE, feeling the flow of the currency coursing through the veins of this financial system, while simultaneously bleeding out of every other direction. Central banks have one specific policy, and that is to destroy the value of the currencies of their particular country. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Let's look at the Federal Reserve yet again keeping interest rates near 0%. So yet again, we have another meeting of the Federal Reserve and another meeting of no action. Should that surprise anybody? I don't think so. So there are two articles here. I'm not going to cover all the information. I'm sure you've heard it all in the news. Basically what happened was you had Trump and Yellen at a war of words, where Trump basically said, look, they're keeping it this way to have Obama's presidency without any tarnishment on it. They don't want that to happen. Leave it until after, so it's the next guy's problem. That's basically what he said. Yellen then said, look, what we do politics plays no role in that. And as if that's true, it is entirely political, at least at this level. So that's it for this article. Moving on to the next one. Essentially, Trump said this. It's staying at 0 because she's obviously political and she's obviously doing what Obama wants her to do. I know that's not supposed to be the way it is, but that's why it's low. And he said, which I agree with, creating a false market, and that stocks were likely to drop sharply once the rates eventually go up. I mean, it's pretty easy. You don't need to be an economist to figure that out. When the new person becomes president, let him raise interest rates and let her raise interest rates, and watch what happens to the stock market when that happens. So it's pretty clear, to me at least, what's going on. And they do this every time. When they have this president running for a second election, they would have decreased the interest rates if at all possible. In this case here, it's difficult to go any direction but into the negative. So at least they're basically keeping it at 0%. Now, we're at this time where it's been now, by the time the next meeting comes around, it's going to be a year where they promised they would do this at least 4 times. They have done it 0 times. So going back on their word, even on this silly little joke. Now, this was actually a good article. Actually, at the beginning, it starts off, it's absolutely hilarious what they try and lie about. But anyway, let's look at a few points from this article here. I found it to be really good. If the global economy were to slow down more sharply, a significant share of the developing country debt incurred since 2008 could become unpayable and exert considerable pressure on the financial system. I'm going to go further than that personally, but let's just finish this next quote here. There remains a risk of a deflationary spiral in which capital flight, currency devaluation, and collapse asset prices would stimulate growth and shrink government revenues as capital begins to flow out. There is now a real danger of entering a third phase of the financial crisis, which began in the housing market and then spreading to the European bond market, and then they're saying it goes on even further. Like I've said, I call it the financial crisis part 2. And the reason I say that is it's not necessarily the second part. I'm basically trying to say that this is a continuation of what we had, subprime financial crisis and onward, where you can see that happen. It's very distinct, very clear. So, they get into a lot in this, if you're interested, definitely a lot of information to go over. What I would suggest is that no matter where you look, no matter where you turn in this financial system, you're going to see holes, you're going to see cracks, and you're going to see some huge sinkholes that have formed. And there is very, very little hope that it can be revived, that there can be any chance of digging themselves out of this mess. That is an absolute fact. All right, there's a couple things that I'd like to get into right here. Number one, people are ditching their apartments to live the, quote, van life. People would not, most people anyway, would not do this if housing was more affordable, if the economy was doing good. Instead of fixing the economy, essentially what they do is support this scenario. Van life. And what about this? The number of New Yorkers applying for emergency grants to stay in their homes is skyrocketing as the number of people staying homeless shelters reached an all-time high last weekend. You have 10 cities going up all across the U.S. and more. Look at a lot of the cities, in fact, have such serious conditions. This is just one little thing. Poverty is so bad right now in most major cities, and if you look at that, just in the US for this moment here, you can see it is very significant. It's not just Detroit where you have to look. There are 10 cities going up all over the place. Some of them are being shut down, but some of them are allowed to operate. And those areas there, you can clearly, distinctly see where the problems lie. Okay, so you have that guy from Gangnam Style. I think that's who this is. Accidentally, I don't believe that for a second, accidentally lets the world access its internet, and it only has 28 websites. If you go in here, you can actually see those websites. I can't believe that something like this is just allowed to slip up. Somebody's there to really catch it at the time. The guy from Gangnam Style here, he's just out of his mind. And that's something that I always think about, and how much of, the powers that be, how much control they have. We're not getting the full picture. We know that arms were traded at some point. We know there's a lot of sketchy deals here that have gone on before. I don't know. I thought I'd mention it in this right here. And last but not least, I'm not going to cover the article. I'm not going to. Let's just read it, because this every time it upsets me. I was an anti-vax crackpot until this happened. So this mother here, the one child stricken with an illness, she believed that had they got the vaccine, wouldn't have been a problem. There's a lot of lies in this article here. They mention Andrew Wakefield's study, which is every time, this is what's cited. Every single time they cite Andrew Wakefield's study. If you read Andrew Wakefield's book, Callous Disregard, you will get the full story. If you just read article after article after article talking about Andrew Wakefield's discredited study, you get a different picture. If you doubt it, just do yourself a favor. Read Andrew Wakefield's book, Callous Disregard. If you have that confidence in you, that you believe that vaccines are good, that they can support your immunity, everything else, just read the book. And then you can put away that lie that he even noted in the book any time that the MMR vaccine was linked to autism. That was not said at all. Yet every single time they tell that bull, that BS, every single time. And I hate this stuff. I want to say something else, but I can't. All right, anyway, if you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate all you guys out there. Really give me that drive. When I see your comments out there, the positivity, thanking me, I try to thank you back. I try to get back to as many as I can. Try to say at least the words thank you, or some acknowledgement, some form of acknowledgement. I try to do my best. I can only usually get to the current days or the previous day's video. But in that, I hope that you see that. I don't know another YouTuber who replies to more people than I do. And the reason I do that is because I want that interaction. I want to know what you have to say. And I want you to know that I think that way. So that's all for this. Check out the book. Head over to Amazon, flip through the book, see if you like it. Take care.